Okay, I have no idea what's going on with this Zoom now. Can you still hear me?
Yes, we can hear you, sir.
Okay, thanks. Okay, so last time we um here. Okay, we spoke about those different things with bowling control, um, the different violations. Okay, and then I think we finished off with the alley hoop, just explaining what the alley hoop is. It's just a fancy way of scoring in basketball. And then we're gonna continue with other rules in basketball today. Okay, so some of the other terminologies used is screening. So I'm sure you've heard of screening. Another sport where you can find screening is probably in volleyball, where you put up screens in order to either block a person or block a view of that person's view towards the attacking player or the ball or the implement. So basic basketball screens when an offensive, which means an attacking, when an offensive player illegally blocks the path of a defender to open up another offensive player for a shot or to receive a pass. Okay, so fundamentals of the screener is a person setting the screen. Feet should be a little wider than shoulder width apart. It's very important to have a wide, strong base. Hands should be crossed across your chest if it's female, and then or protecting your groin if it's a male. The screener needs to be in a needs to be stationary as the screen is set. Otherwise, the screener will be called for offensive foul. So in basketball, it is allowed to create a screen. So if we are the attacking team, all right, and we are moving the ball down the court, as a teammate of that attacking team can actually try and form a screen either in the 3-point area in order to block a defender from getting to the person who is in possession of the ball. Okay, so that is pretty much a screen. However, it is very important that the screening be done correctly. Otherwise, obviously, you'll be penalized. Okay, so we've got legal screenings and then also illegal screenings. And sorry, today nothing is working with me. Anyways. Okay, so the body should be vertical, should not be leaning forward or backwards. So you need to be up straight and square to the defender. The middle of the screener's chest should be in line with the defender's shoulders and hips. After the offensive player has ran off the screen, it is very important to open up the basketball. Normally, you will pivot 180 degrees to the basketball. Sometimes a cut to the basket or away from the basket may be open. Many times the screener is the person who is open. Okay, so the screener can also receive the ball because it's part of that team. The things to remember there is okay. I will be. I don't know if it's gonna work, but we'll try it a bit later. I will show you a video on how to screen properly, but also ways in which people can do illegal screens as well. Okay, so fundamentals are the person receiving the screen, set up the defender. It's very important for the offensive player to set up the screen. First of all, he or she needs to wait until the screener is completely set. If he or she leaves too early while the screener is moving, the screener will get called for an offensive foul. So a screen should not move. Otherwise, it's a moving screen, and then that would be a violation of the rules. So when you set a screen, it's important to stay stationary. So you're not allowed to put your hands across your groin or over your chest and then try and move into the direction of the defender. That would be a moving screen, which would be considered illegal. Okay, so you need to find your placing. Maybe, for instance, if you see a defender is approaching the attacking player who has the ball, you're allowed to move in front of the player and then set your screen. However, after that, you're not allowed to move, because if he changes direction and you change direction, then that would become a violation. Okay, and then second, it's very good to set up the screen by faking the opposition direction, even if it's only a slight head fake. Okay, because if you go set the screen, obviously the defender will see, well, this guy just set the screen, let me move around him. Okay, so a lot of times you'll see basketball players, they fake to the right. However, they fake to their right when the player is approaching, which means that player is going to see him moving that way. But because it's a fake, he's going to be moving to the opposite direction. And then that's where you set your screen. And then it will be a legal screen. Okay. So then you can either block his movement or his momentum, and then you won't be penalized for it. Okay, so obviously that will get the defender leaning in the wrong direction, and when he explodes the other direction to catch up with you, he'll run hard into that specific screen. Okay, and then fundamentals of the person receiving the screen. So when you is this the one that I did now? Sorry. Okay, and anyway, shoulder to shoulder when running off the screen, you will need to run shoulder to shoulder. This will not give the defender any room to get around the screen. It will force him to either trail behind you or plow through the screen for defensive foul. Okay, and then they say it's very important for the offensive player to blast off the screen. This will leave the defender in the dust and give you much more time to set up for a shot. Okay, and then the next one is over the back. It's a foul committed by a player who tries to rebound the ball by pushing, moving, or climbing on a player's back who is already in a position to rebound the ball. Okay, so even the way that you compete for the ball after a rebound, that should be done properly as well and with minimal contact with opposing players. Rebounding, you'll also see in those set of terminologies, it's just literally if you shoot a basket and the ball doesn't go in, it bounces off the backboard or off the hoop, that is a rebound. And we actually train for collecting rebounds in a proper way and also to make it more obviously effective. Okay, so basketball is really simple. To win, you either need to shoot a higher percentage or take more shots than your opponent. That's all you can do. That's the only way to win the game. Okay, and then they just give you a bit of stats. They give you a bit of stats. If you can find a way to consistently take more field goals attempts that your opponent takes, then you have a good chance to win games. You can even win if your shooting percentage is lower than your opponent's. Okay, so even though that's the stats, the aim is obviously to make the baskets. So that is successful shots. So every time you attack, you need to take a shot. So don't let the shot clock catch you or any type of time violations cause you to lose possession of the ball. Okay, these percentages will not go through all of them. Now you can go through that with your own time. Okay, and then rule interpretation. So I don't know if maybe so far you guys can already see there's a lot of small, not small, but a lot of rules that could be quite complicated to understand. And even in a game of basketball that can sometimes be so quick, it's difficult to actually see or judge a foul. okay, properly because it happened too quickly. Okay. Anyways, but basketball is regarded as among the most difficult sports to officiate due to the fast speed of play, the complexity of rules that must be followed, the unique case specific interpretations of the rules, and the instantaneous judgment requirements or required. Again, and the first one they talk about is blocking or charging for a foul. This is the most difficult call to make in basketball. Let me just admit. In basketball, a lot is left up for interpretation, and referees blow the score more than any other. So, blocking by definition is a personal contact which impedes the progress of an offensive player. This call is made when a defender bumps into or impedes an offensive player's progress with their body. Okay, so that's not. If you look at that, you'll maybe also think, but isn't that forming a screen? Okay, so when you talk about screening, most of the time we talk about offensive screening, okay, which can be legal or legal. So that means the attacking team creates a screen. However, blocking is also almost like screening, but it's done by the defending team. Okay, so you're not allowed to do that where you block momentum from a player or purposefully running into a player and just stopping would also be considered as blocking and then also be a foul. Okay, and then charging is personal contact call against the offense with or without the ball, usually because the offensive player pushes or runs through a defender. When judging a block or a charge, officials are supposed to use the following principles. Does the defender establish an initial legal guarding position? Does the defender remain stationary or does he move laterally or backwards? Sorry, not literally, laterally or backwards in order to maintain the guarding position. In moving to in moving to mount in moving to maintain the guarding position, are one or both feet on the floor while doing so. Sorry. Okay, and then is the defensive player on the spot first? Okay, so those are some of the things that you need to look at as a referee or a match official. So even just by reading these things, imagine how difficult it has to be for a referee to actually make proper calls during a basketball match. Okay, and to notice all of those aspects. So basically, everyone has a right to their position on the court, whether it's the offensive or the defense. If either one violates that space, then a block charge will be called. Okay, so depending on who occupied a specific space first, that person usually has the advantage of that space, if that makes sense. So for a defending player to come into that position that was already occupied by an offensive player, it doesn't mean that that defender can't be there. It just means what he does in that position is very important. Okay, there's any type of charging taking place or illegal blocking, then obviously the offense will always have the upper hand. Okay, and then the principle of verticality, this applies to legal position. Following are the basic components of the principle of verticality. Legal guarding position must be obtained initially and movement thereafter must be legal. From this position, the defender may rise or jump vertically and occupy the space within his or her vertical plane. The hands and arms of the defender may be raised within his or her vertical plane while on the floor or in the air. Okay, so moving laterally and lifting using your arms obviously to close off space would be considered legal if you've established that position or that area in front of maybe an attacking player. Okay, so that was just basic rules and terminologies. There are other terminology as well that I think I also uploaded onto Moodle for you guys just to go through. We will also go through it later on in our lessons. But for now, before I continue, I'm gonna have one attempt. I'm gonna try and play a video. I'm not sure if it's gonna work. Okay, okay, I've stopped that share. Obviously, you can see that it's can already see it's not gonna work. Anyways, okay, but those videos that I wanted to show is also, I think I've already no, for basketball, I think I only uploaded one. However, the rest of them I will upload. It's just basically on forming illegal screens. So trying to identify illegal screens and how to do it properly. And then also there's a video on pivoting when you're receiving the ball, how to pivot and or to train pivoting, etc. etc. So those videos I will just upload onto Moodle for you. Please make sure that you go look at it, because once you look at it, then all of these things that we just discussed becomes easier to understand, because there's just a lot of words, and then that might make it seem like it's quite a lot of content. Okay, we're not going to go into detail with the playing positions today, but I'll just have like an overview, just quickly go through them. So we all know there are 5 players per team in a basketball game, and each player plays a specific position on the court, and each one has their own attributes and obviously skill sets. Each position can be thought of as a role, although these roles can be a hybrid when each player is required to play 2 or more positions at one time. This is due to the nature of the sport, where players move around the court and play flexibly, doing what is needed in a given situation. Okay, so obviously, if you have more skills than the one position required, then that would be a bonus, which means you will be able to play in much more position or many more positions. However, there are, I think there's one player which is your, what do you call it again? Anyways, we'll get to it. Let's quickly go through the some of the positions. Sorry. So you have your center, which is generally the tallest player, who is positioned near the basket as he must be able to get up as high as possible for rebounds. He's also required to be more physically domineering, with more physical strength and overall athleticism. So these are your bigger guys. All basketball players are tall, but these ones usually much more stronger, more explosive power in the lower body. They are there to do the rebounds and even in defensive shots when they become a defender, to block shots, etc., etc. Okay, so in an offensive position, the center's goal is to get open for pass and then to shoot. They are required to block defenders and to open other players up for driving to the basket or a goal. Centers are expected to get some offensive rebounds and putbacks, which is just placing the ball back into the hoop. Center should be good at making quick jump shots, hook shots, and using the backboard on his shots. In a defensive role, center's main responsibility is to keep opponents from shooting by blocking shots and passes in the key area. They also are expected to get more rebounds because they are obviously taller. Then you have a power forward, usually the next tallest players in the team who are closest to the center in physical attributes and playing style, but with more speed. A forward may play under the hoop or are expected to operate in the wings and corner areas of the court. They must be strong and comfortable with a lot of physical play and must be an effective rebounder, an effective inside shooter like the center. The power forward is also expected to shoot from further distances than the center. Okay, so your power forward and your centers are usually also great shooters of the ball, and those are the positions that they play. Obviously, with playing positions, this would be a nice question for exams or tests. So make sure that you know each position and know the roles of that position in offensive play and then also in defensive play. Okay, and then you have your small forward, who's usually the smallest on the court. They're usually shorter, the shorter one of the two forwards on the team. However, the small forward must have enough height and ability to play inside, and on top of that, play like the centers and power forwards, but also be able to guard. So they're usually the smallest. However, they can't be too small, as they also fall into those roles of your center and your power forward. So they need those attributes as well. Okay. Small forwards are also the second or third best shooters from distance of the 5 positions, as they also play defensive roles. And then you have your shooting guard, potentially the shortest player. What? Anyways, your shooting guard is potentially the shortest player in the team. However, he has to be good at dribbling, fast passing, and having court vision by seeing the court. So pretty much like the number 10 in a rugby team or number 10 in a soccer team. Those are your playmakers. They move the ball quickly up and down the court into spaces, and then they get the play going. Okay. I was confused with the small forward and the shooting guard. Anyways, moving on. Okay, and then your point guard pretty much has to be the best. Did I just finish that? Anyways, the point guard needs to be the best ball handler, dribbler, and passer, as he handles the ball the most out of all the players. He needs to bring the ball down the court and initiate offensive plays as well. Oh man, was okay. Anyways, okay, remember that like that for now, but I think there was somewhere here there's a bit of confusion with my other slides. Anyways, I'll just make sure of that on those positions. I think there might be a mix-up here. Because why is it confusing me now? Anyways. Okay, anyways, I think for now we'll stop there. In the next lesson, we're gonna go look at we'll go into more depth with the different playing positions. And then after that, we'll also look at the roles and responsibilities of the different match officials, and also just the rules and terminologies used surrounding that, like the shot clock, the table officials, what happens there, shot clock operators, time operators, etc., etc. So then we'll do that in the next lesson. In the meantime, over the weekend, maybe on Sunday or Monday morning, please make sure to go into Moodle, because I'm now going to go update Moodle and obviously upload all our lessons that we've done and that I've pre-recorded, but I will also be uploading activities and the new assignment as well, so that you guys can start doing that, and then I'll also post the first test date. Okay, so make sure that you at least go on Moodle on Sunday. Any questions?